Today, on the first day of Vlogmas 2022, we're going to have a little conversation about what we can and cannot say on a YouTube video. This should be fun, so join me as we discuss why, how, what's the point of censoring words on YouTube. Now, if you've been paying attention to either Twitter or the community page here for my channel, you might have noticed that I posted a little ditty about how I was going to stop censoring words starting January 1st. Now, the reason for that is not because I do use a lot of censor words. I really don't. It's just the fact that I'm tired of having people ask me, what does SA mean? Or why don't you just say F, whatever? Now, there are some words that, of course, I'm going to censor because they're just not words that I want to be saying, like the N word. That word, everybody knows what it means. Everybody knows what it stands for. I don't really need to not censor that word. But what I'm talking about is when we're talking about serious topics, I don't know if you've noticed this when you visit other content creators, but they either use code words or they might have an entire section of their info box where you see what each word means, or they will just use euphemisms so that you can say the word without actually saying the word. And here is my issue with that. Not only is it very distracting to me, I'm one of these people that needs to be hearing the conversation as it is, and don't give me flowery. I don't have the patience for any of that. More importantly, it is very confusing. If you are one of those people like me that loves to watch a lot of different content on YouTube, and basically each community has different words, each creator has different code words, and trying to keep track of that is just a headache that I don't need. For those of us who live with brain fog, yeah, that's definitely not a headache we want to live with. So what I decided to do today is not only tell you guys why people do this or what is going on, but I wanted to make a very important point that I think people miss, and more importantly, take a stand, because obviously content creators in YouTube have decided to just go ahead and censor themselves, and I really don't get it. So let's start with why people censor words. Now, in years past, there was a thing that was called the list, and apparently there were thousands and thousands of terms that if the algorithm noticed them in your video, they would automatically flag you as not suitable for advertising. I don't know how true that was or not, because there got up to a point where I would get censored for breathing on my own freaking videos. So I don't really know what was going on at that time, but I can tell you this. You cannot have an entire Pride Month and talk about how you love your creators and the LGBTQ community and then censor them. That makes absolutely no sense. But I digress. Anyway, as time went on, there was a moment where it kind of sort of stopped, but then once again people started censoring certain words. And let me make an important point here. I'm not talking about not posting a trigger warning, although, by the way, if you post a trigger warning on your video or in your information box, it's automatically going to get demonetized. It's about the fact that sometimes we're having serious conversations and people have to come up with words that are kind of funny in a way. Like, to give you an example, the other day Spanky V was talking about child corn instead of course, you know, what she was trying to talk about. And like I said, I started January 1st, so no, I'm not going to do it now. Anyway, bottom line is, creators big and small have been so afraid of getting demonetized that they've decided to go ahead and bow down to the gods. But here's my issue. What you're going to be watching right now is a list of companies that advertise with YouTube. And the reason why I'm letting you watch the whole thing is because if you notice, it says digital and also traditional media. They spend, let's say they have a budget of $100 million for advertising on all content, you know, traditional, print, and also social media. So here's my question, and this is something that nobody has ever been able to answer, because the one time that companies were getting held to the fire to answer, they said, well, we're not the ones saying that we cannot advertise. This is the hypocrisy of this thing. If you go to a regular channel, and keep in mind, I don't watch TV. I watch things without advertising. I cannot stand sitting through advertising. In fact, I don't even know who advertises on YouTube. I had to look it up because I have premium, so I don't have to watch advertising. But here's the thing. People who advertise on YouTube, as you can see on this list, also advertise on traditional media. As in, CBS, NBC, ABC, and not just the news segments, but the regular programming. Now, can you explain to me why is it okay to advertise through news services while they are telling you about violence and war and crimes and stories that you really don't want to hear about? Then we move on to TV shows where they display. I mean, Law and Order, for example. I love Law and Order, but let's be real, it was a fairly violent show. And as the years go by, shows get more violent. And it's okay to advertise there, but you have a problem helping people who might be on a solo operation like me, or might have a few people working for them. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that as content creators, we are a lot smaller than a big corporation like NBC, CBS, and ABC. And I'm just naming the three main ones because those were the ones I grew up with. If we get into CNN, Fox, and all the other ones that are like news media, or the Weather Channel, or any other company that advertises that you can see in your cable TV or your Roku or whatever, the bottom line still is that all these companies are advertising and spending money on both traditional media and here. Grab a newspaper and tell me you don't see violence written all over the pages, or bad language, or any kind of thing. And that is my issue. My bigger issue is, why are we getting punished for posting our content when traditional media gets away with it? Especially when you consider that traditional media is losing ground more and more to social media platforms, but yet they still get the preferential treatment. That is something that we should analyze with those corporations, because I don't know if you noticed, but many of the corporations that I just showed you happen to be family entertainment like Disney and Universal, or companies that advertise to all members of the family, and yet we get censored but they don't. Now, and as far as the question of why do creators censor themselves, especially the big ones, a lot of people ask me, because I was making a comment about this earlier today, if by any chance is it greed? And I have to disagree. It's not greed. You might have a Patreon like I do. You might have subscribers that are actually paying to subscribe to your YouTube channel. We have that option now. And you might have people that donate via Venmo or PayPal or whatever. And you still don't have enough money to run a successful channel and pay all the people that work for you. And that's the part that you have to understand. You see, when you see $100 million budget for somebody like Shane or any of these corporations like GoPro and whatnot, you have to remember that that's not just for the advertising that you see when you click on a video. That also includes all the sponsorships, because that's part of the advertising budget. And people don't want to lose that money. Now, advertising on YouTube does not generate as much income as most people think it does, but it is a nice cushion for you to have. If you know, for example, a big channel makes, I don't know, $20,000 a month in advertising revenue, you don't want to lose that because one of your videos had one word that was bad. So no, I don't think it's greed, and I don't blame them for doing it. But I wish they would stand up and take a stand on this thing, because to be honest with you, it's ridiculous. There are many content creators that I watch and I either start laughing or I lose I can't focus when you're calling it corn. I'm sorry. It's just not a thing that I can do. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. And so my question is, why are we allowing this to happen? Especially when we notice that the companies that advertise here on YouTube are the same companies that advertise everywhere else. I don't know what the solution to this problem is, but we've had this problem before. We've been complaining about this problem for years. Now it feels like people are just, washing their hands of the whole situation. And I'm sorry, but I'm taking a stand. And so on the first day of Vlogmas of 2022, this is my rant. This is what I'm talking about today. And I don't know if I'm going to be talking about this for days to come. I don't even know if I'm going to follow Vlogmas the whole time. But I can tell you that this is how I feel about it. Because when you look at YouTube ad leaderboards for the last 2 quarters of 2022, which right now are 3 and 2, because of course we're on 4, you can notice a pattern. There's, by the way, those advertising that you see that says YouTube ads leaderboard, that's what you decided to stop and actually watch before you watch the content that you wanted to watch. And if you notice, there's all kinds of entertainment here. There's all kinds of advertising, money coming to YouTube. And let's make one thing very clear. The fact that you get censored doesn't mean that they're not advertising, because I believe last year or the beginning of this year, they decided that they were going to run ads everywhere. So who is it? Is it the corporations, or is it YouTube? And if it's YouTube because they're feeling the pressure from advertisers, why are you letting them pressure you when you're the one who has the content? And according to many who have been studying this, you have 1.7 billion unique visitors every month. I mean, is it wrong of me to think and so people understand what that means. What it means is that, for example, I watch 20 content creators a week, right? But I only count once under one channel. But if I go under the Aviddiva channel and I watch 20 other content creators, that's a second unique, even though it's really me. But it's a second person. Each account counts once, no matter how much content they watch. So if you have 1.7 billion unique visitors, and they are all like me, they watch maybe 3-4 hours a day, or 2 hours a day, or 1 hour a day, depending on the day, because I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how much I watch. That is one person watching a lot of content. I did not check the stats on how many hours the average YouTube consumer takes, but if you have 1.7 billion unique views, and even if all they do is watch 1 hour each, you know how many hours you're talking about? So please, I'm begging you, if you have a content creator that you love, go and find out why they're doing it. Notice all the complaining about true crime, but true crime usually doesn't censor their words. And what ends up happening is that they have to ask people to follow them on all their social media and to go ahead and subscribe to their Patreon or their channel, to be paid subscribers or donate, because that's the only way they can make money for their channel, because unfortunately they get demonetized all the time. And that's probably going to happen on the 1 or 2 occasions that I use a word that I shouldn't be using. And tell me, how is that fair compared to traditional media? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this one. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.